What is up, everyone? It's Ryan, living in Cambodia, making videos so you can see what it's like to live in the Kingdom of Wonder. It's been over a year and a half since I put out a cost of living video, and since I'm still living, and it still costs me money to live, I decided it is time for an update. I've lived in Cambodia for over 3 years, and in all that time, I have been tracking my expenses. I go to the movies. I put the cost in the app. I buy a whole pack of licorice. I put the cost in the app. I eat the whole pack of licorice, puke on myself, and have to leave the movie early to go buy a new pair of shorts. I put that cost in my app. My costs are real. Some jabroni might try to say otherwise, but remember, they're just a jabroni. They're out there jabroniing. I'm the one living the life and tracking the costs. My numbers are for one person. However, do note that I live with my partner in crime, Sarah, aka Sarsar the Lovely. And because there are two of us, we can save money on things like rent and tuk-tuk rides to the various locales we frequent. For example, the local slam ball court, where we battle it out with other slam ball enthusiasts every week.
That's on your mama, boy!
All prices are in USD, that is the United States dollar, the most widely used currency in the entire world. And we're going to start things off with what will likely be your biggest expense. You guessed it, rent. Rent varies a lot in Phnom Penh. It's possible to get a perfectly fine apartment in a nice neighborhood for $300 a month. And that's why it hurts me to say that we pay $50 a month.
How much?
$1,050 a month. But we live in a 2-bedroom serviced apartment, and that $1,050 includes twice a week cleaning, a pool, a gym, 24/7 security, parking for a motorbike, garbage collection, internet, and cable. That's a lot of perks, but of course you can save money by doing all that yourself. For example, a membership at a gym that has a pool can be had for about $40 a month. Cable is, I don't know how much it costs, but it's got to be cheap, and you don't want cable. Cable's garbage. Forget about cable. Cleaning twice a week. I'm not really sure about this one. I would say at least $50 a month. So we're paying more, so we don't have to worry about doing all that stuff. But number two, I have two buts. I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Sarah is one of the greatest teachers the world has ever seen. This girl could teach a cat how to shine a shoe. And because of that, she works at a high quality school, and that school offers her benefits, things like housing allowance. Woo woo! If we had to pay for the apartment ourselves, we might just live in a cheaper place. But because the school covers it, we're laughing. We're laughing a lot. Let's talk groceries. One of the great things about living in Cambodia is that restaurants are so cheap that you can eat a lot of your meals out. We spend about $16 a week on groceries, which adds up to about $71 a month. I would say that I eat about 1.5 meals at home per day, usually breakfast or lunch, but I would say every other day I'm going out for one of those meals. And often my lunch is leftovers from last night's dinner, so my grocery budget is pretty low. But if we move on to the category eating out and food delivery, this is actually one of my biggest expenses. I spend $184.50 per month in this category, and that's usually on dinner every night, plus lunch or breakfast about 50% of the time. It comes to about $42.50 per week, which is pretty great considering in North America, that's like one meal out or one meal delivered to you. Here in Cambodia, I can do like 10 meals for that $42.50. And of course, this number is going to fluctuate depending on what you like to eat. Basically anything they can produce in Cambodia, fruits, vegetable, chicken, rice, that type of stuff is going to be cheap here, very cheap. But anything they have to bring into the country, you're going to pay more for. For example, cheese. You're going to find cheese is more expensive here than in America, Canada, and other dairy producing countries. Next on my list is electricity. We pay 25 cents per kilowatt, which ends up costing us a whopping $895 per year to power our palace. That's $447.50 each, and it works out to around $75 a month for two people, or $37.50 each. Electricity is more expensive in Cambodia than most other Southeast Asian countries. The biggest eater of electricity is probably air conditioning. We run ours just at night for around 8 hours while we sleep. If you love AC, that number could double or even triple, but I do recommend that you try to get used to the heat here. It might be torturous at first, but your body will adjust. And to save even more money on electricity, we go back to the point, don't stay in a serviced apartment. If you stay in a place where you pay the bill yourself, you're going to get a much better rate. That rate depends on where you are in the city, but it's actually a big money saver. Some serviced apartments charge 30 cents per kilowatt, while the city rate is probably closer to like 15 cents a kilowatt. My next category is transportation, and this one is made up of two subcategories, basically the cost of tuk-tuks and then the cost of my motorbike. Tuktuks are a great way to get around the city. They're cheap, they're really easy to hail using a ride-hailing app like Grab or Pass app. I spend about $9.30 a month on Tuktuks. I usually only use them when I'm traveling with somebody else, so I probably take about $20 worth of Tuktuks in a month, but half the time I'm paying for them, half the time whoever I'm riding with is paying for them. This number would be higher if I didn't have a motorbike. In the past 2 years, I've spent only $108 on my Honda Airblade. That includes repairs, maintenance, petrol, washing it, and even parking. So 2 years, $108, that's $54 a year and $4.50 per month. If you want a total transportation cost, we're looking at $13.88 per month. Of course, this would go up if I had a daily commute, but I work from home, so I really don't leave the house that much. Sarah goes into work 5 days a week, and it ends up costing her $6 a day for tuk-tuks. That's 4 kilometers there, 4 kilometers back, $3 each way. I don't have the numbers to back this up, but if I were to guess, I would say my divide between tuk-tuk and motorbike is about 50-50. Half the time I'm riding the bike, half the time I'm taking a tuk-tuk. So if you're looking to save money in this category, it would probably be worth it to buy a cheap motorbike and drive yourself around if you feel comfortable doing that. I do have a video about driving in Cambodia with lots of tips, and also a video about buying a motorbike in Cambodia, so check those out if you're interested. Another way to save money on transportation, though, is to live in a neighborhood that has a lot of shops and a lot of restaurants and things you can walk to. I definitely walk more than I drive or tuk-tuk. I live in Phnom, which is a great neighborhood for restaurants, for walking to the market. It's all right there. Of course, there is a balance here. The further you live outside of the downtown, the cheaper your rent's going to be, but the more your transportation costs are going to be. Okay, let's move on to buying stuff. So this category is purchases made, often for pleasure, sometimes out of necessity, but always with a smile. So this doesn't include items like toilet paper, toothpaste, all that stuff is in the grocery section. This is more like things like a chair, a shirt, a microphone. I spend about $66.20 per month. That's almost $800 a year buying stuff. I'm not much of a shopper. I don't really buy much, but I did spend a couple $100s on film equipment this year. By the way, thanks to all the people who have donated to my Buy Me a Coffee thing. That money goes right back into the channel, helps me pay for things like microphones and lights and paintings on blinds. And yeah, it's highly appreciated. If you're interested in doing that, then you can check the link in the description below. Yeah, make this channel a better place for you and for me and the entire human race. I also bought some clothes, some plants, a little bit of furniture, and a new phone. I forgot about the new phone. That probably made up a decent portion of the budget. Luckily, most of the apartments that you rent here in Cambodia come fully furnished, so you really shouldn't have to buy too much when you first move here. Okay, let's move on to my favorite category, going out. This covers going to bars, going to movies, going to KTV, sporting events. I went to a craft beer thing the other week. Going out cost me just under $50 a month. That's kind of crazy, really, if you think about it. We always talk about how cheap it is to live here, but to me, it's more about quality of life and how cheap that is. I'm spending $50 a month and I'm going out once a week probably. In Canada, that $50 would get me like one night out probably. The craft beer event I went to, it cost me $10, free entrance, and $2.50 per beer. I'll go to a movie and it'll cost me $3, maybe $5 if I get a snack, maybe $15 if I puke the snack up on my shorts. Perhaps you saw my last video about sporting events in Cambodia. I went to a kickboxing tournament. That was free. I went to a hockey game. That was free. Even big concerts like the one during Gumball 3000. Totally free. Maybe you buy a couple beers for 50 cents each and you are laughing. Just so much cheaper to do things here in Cambodia than almost anywhere. Okay, let's move on to phone and internet. When it comes to my phone, I pay just $1 per week. Actually, my app says $3.67 a month, but that's because I was traveling for a couple months and didn't bother to top up my phone. It's like 12 cents a day, and yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's so cheap. As for internet, well, that's included in my rent, so I pay $0 a month or $0 a day. And if you want the yearly, that comes to $0. Now, if you live in an apartment that doesn't include internet, you are still laughing. For some decent internet, you're looking at about $20 a month here. Next up is the category health and meds. If you're looking to retire here in Cambodia, this category probably will be higher for you because obviously I am young and very strapping. I spend $12.33 per month on maintaining my strappiness. This covers a couple minor health checkups. Probably should do a yearly checkup, but I don't. It also covers very basic meds like ibuprofen, and I take some allergy meds every once in a while. Actually, I just bought a sleeve of them, and it was 66 cents for 10 of them. So that just shows you how cheap meds are here. If you live here and you want a full body checkup, I can give you a quote for that. That sounds a bit like I'm doing the medical checkup. I am no longer doing any kind of medical examinations in my apartment anymore. I'm done with that. Please don't contact me about it. Royal Phnom Penh Hospital charges this for all this. Women have to pay more because they have vaginas, and vaginas are very expensive to maintain. Sunrise Japan Hospital charges this for this. It looks like $120 for a basic and $480 for a complete checkup. Kima, I actually did theirs once and I thought it was pretty thorough. They do all this for $140, and that's if you are over 40, and it's $117 if you are under 40. I think the only difference is if you're older, they do a thyroid check and they also check for tumors.
It's not a tumor.
And finally, my last category is one that you might not spend a dime on, but I am a man of the world. I love to travel, and it costs me $4,235 a year. That's $352.92 a month. For me, this category includes flights and hotels, and then sometimes other stuff that sneaks into it. For example, I book a train. Instead of putting it in the transportation category, I might put it in the travel category. We travel on average of 12 weeks a year. It's almost a quarter of the year, so this category is quite high for me. You might not want to include it in your budget, or maybe you want to reduce it. If I travel 12 weeks a year, that means I spend about $352 per week of vacation. So you can figure out how many weeks per year you want to travel and then times it by 352 to get an idea of your travel budget for the year. Obviously, there are a lot of factors that go into this number: where you're going, how much luxury you like. Most of our travels are in Southeast Asia, but we did take a big trip this year to Kyrgyzstan and Uzbekistan. One way to save money in this category, though, is to travel local to visit places in Cambodia, which I highly encourage you to do. From the hills of Mondulkiri to the turquoise waters of Koh Rong, there's a lot to see in Cambodia, and it's a very cheap place to explore. All right, before we look at the totals, a few things that aren't included here that you might have to budget in. A visa. I get a visa paid for by the school that employs Sarah, but if you don't have a Sarah, then you can expect to pay around $40 a month just to stay in Cambodia. A visa extension plus a work permit is $480 a year, but if you are over the age of 50, you can just get a retirement visa, which is $300 a year. So basically, you don't have to worry about the work permit part. Our health insurance is also paid for by Sarah's school. They pay for both hers and mine, which is incredible. I really don't know much about the cost of health insurance, so I'm going to refer to the numbers I got from my friends at For Real. They did a cost of living video for CM Reap, and they said that they pay $540 a year, so $45 a month. Obviously, this is going to change depending on a number of factors: how old you are, maybe like how strapping you are. If you're looking for a recommendation for an insurance plan, I have a link in the description below. It's a beefed up plan that's specifically made for expats living abroad. So check the link in the description below. It's a referral link, so I'll make a little bit of money. You'll be safe and happy. We'll make the world a better place, like Michael wanted. Tap water is also not included on my list here. Many service departments will include tap water, but some will charge you a monthly fee of $5. Our landlord said not to worry about it. He's going to calculate it at the end of our stay here, so I don't have a number for it. All right, if we look at the totals, I've got $1,316 per month, and that includes all my traveling and includes our rent, which, as stated earlier, I don't have to pay, but I wanted to include it here for you guys anyways. And again, that's for one person in a household of 2 people. That equals out to $15,792.50 a year, or $42.27 per day. Is that good? Is that bad? I don't know. I think you have to take these budgets with a grain of salt because everyone is different. Some people don't like to travel. Some people spend more on travel. I take the $480 that most people spend on a visa. I put it right into beauty care, mostly in my face. I want to say it's possible to live in Phnom Penh for about $500 a month. That's pretty cheap living, and I think most expats spend way more than that. But I think it is possible to do it. It's possible to do it for less than that, obviously, but to live comfortably, $500 a month in Phnom Penh, I don't think that's unreasonable. There's so much talk about how cheap it is to live here. I think a lot of people come here just because it's so cheap to live. I'm certainly somewhat guilty of that, but I think Cambodia has so much more to offer than just cheap living. If you look at the categories that cover quality of life, eating out, going out, and entertainment and stuff, it's just so cheap here for what you're getting. And I think that's the biggest takeaway you should get from this. Not just I can live cheap, but I can live a better life for cheaper. An easier life for less, really. Like I don't clean my house, I don't cook hardly ever, and yet I'm paying way, way less than I would in Canada. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you found this useful. Love your faces, etc., etc. Take care. Comb your hair. I'm out.
Look at my face, look at my grades. Don't match up, no love, look at fate. I just fade. When I hit the jack, you can keep the pie. Every night I gamble, I stop. Yeah, when I check the cost, I was like, oh, that's expensive.